What we're going to look at here are the skills associated with calculating a percentage increase or decrease in an amount. Now, the concept of this is quite straightforward. It's a scenario where you've got something at a set amount, you then buy or sell it, or it's worth another amount, and you want to know by what percent the overall cost has increased or decreased, or the overall number dependent upon the scenario. It's not always based on money. I'd say typically 90% of the time it is, but some of the time it's not. Example here to show you isn't based on money at all. It's about attendance for a Scottish football club. Now, this quantity has changed from previous season to this season. So the 24-25 season, the average attendance was 1150. 25-26, the average attendance has dropped to 980. The whole scenario is based around the question: calculate the percentage decrease in average attendance between the two seasons. It's a piece of information that would be quite important for the club to know. Obviously, they want to go away and analyse the numbers. They want to analyse statistics and then start to figure out the issue of why they're losing numbers. But being able to calculate a percentage decrease would be a part of that. It would be an important piece of information to have. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we need to do and what do we need to know to be able to write a change in terms of a percentage of the original? Now, in that sense, it kind of highlights to you the two main things. The first one being a change. We would need to know what the change is. So that would be the first thing that we need to ask ourselves. What is the change? So what is the change from the original to this new amount that we've got? We need to know that to be able to use it as a percentage. We also need to know what the original is. Now, it's key that you make sure you know that. It's key that you remember we're after it as a percentage of the original amount, not a percentage of the new amount. So that original amount is vital for us to be able to do. What these bits of information allow us to do is set up a relationship and set up a formula that will get me this percentage change. And in order to get the percentage change, when I know these two bits of information, what I'll do is I'll take the amount it's changed by, I'll divide it by the original, and then I'll multiply that by 100 to make it a decimal. Change divided by the original is always going to be less than 1, so it's going to be the decimal representation of the percentage, and then multiplying it by 100 takes that and actually turns it into a percentage itself straight off. That formula there, that's the key formula we're going to use to be able to calculate the percentage change in something. We can then contextualize it as a profit or loss. A key thing to remember, when we're looking at the percentage change, ignore any sign change. So obviously if it's increased, it's going to be a positive change. If it's decreased, it's going to be a negative change. Just look at the magnitude of the number, i.e. the size, and then tell them at the end whether it's a profit, a loss, or an increase or a decrease, or whatever the context of the question may be. So if we go back to the scenario of the football club, with the average home attendance going from 1150 to 980, we can use this formula. So the first thing we need to figure out is what it's changed by. Well, in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll take 1150 and we'll take away 980. And what that will give me is 170. So on average, we've lost 170 people. I need to know what the original is. Now in this scenario, it's the change from 2024 to 25 into 25-26. So that means the original amount that I'm using for comparison is this 1150. It's not the 980 because that's my new amount. Remember, it's the original that we started with in this scenario. What that then means is my percentage change is going to be given by 170 divided by 1150, multiply it by 100. When I do that, I get 14.782 and then a whole spiel of stuff after that. And if we round it to 1 decimal place, I get 14.8%. So I made a 14.8%, but again, look at the contextualize. It's a 14.8% loss in this case, because we've lost numbers coming to the football ground. So that's what I mean when I say contextualize. What does it describe for the scenario? Another couple of examples to look at. So first one, a shop buys a pair of jeans for £30, sells them for 40. What is the percentage increase? Again, we need those two bits of information. So the first thing we need to know is what the change is. Well, to do the change, we take 40 and we take away the 30, and we know the price has changed by £10. What we then want to do is figure out what our original price is. So in this case, for the scenario, look at what we started with. The original price is £30. So what I can then do is say, right, I can calculate my percentage change from that. I'm going to do 10 divided by 30 and multiply it by 100. Now 10 divided by 30 is the same as a third. A third times 100. What we do is we'll write that as 33 1/3%. So there you go, that's the percentage. But again, look at the context. It's an increase. Put it in the context of the question. The price has gone up. It's an increase in price. Second scenario, there's 35 sweets in a bag. 4 of the sweets are orange flavour. What percentage of the sweets are orange flavoured sweets? Now this one's slightly different because this one's not looking at a change. This is something as a percentage of the original. So actually in this case, I don't need a change. I just need to know the amount that I currently have, which in this case is 4. Now the generalized formula doesn't change itself of change divided by the original times 100. The only thing that will change is what I'm putting on the top. But in this case, it's something out of a percentage of another. So the top of my fraction will be this 4. I have to have the original amount. Now the original amount is the number of sweeties in the bag, which is 35. So if I'm going to do 4 divided by 35, and I'm going to multiply my answer by 100. When I do that, I get 11.428 and a whole spiel of stuff, which then means that 11.4% of the sweeties are orange. Again, it's contextualizing the question. You got to look at what the question's asking you. In this case, it wanted to know what percent of the sweeties were orange. So there you go, 11.4% are orange. That puts it back into the context. So there's a couple of examples to demonstrate. Now it's your turn. Here's 4. Pause the video and have a go at them. Come and check what you've done. See how we've got on. So first question, Tinny bought something for $345, sold it for $454. The overall question is calculate the percentage profit or loss for each of the scenarios below. So again, we want the same information. The first thing we want is our change. So in this case, the change is going to be 454. Take away the 345. What that's going to give me is 109. I want my original, so it's what I started with, which in this case is the $345. So I then say, fine, what I'm going to do, my percentage change is going to be 109 divided by the 345 multiplied by 100. If I do that, what I'm going to get is 31.594 and then a spiel of stuff. So that's going to then give me a 31.6%, and in this case it's gone up, so it's going to be a profit. Second scenario, waterbed is bought for $350 and we sell it on again for $320. What is the percentage profit or loss? Well, in this case we know it's going to be a loss because we bought it and we've sold it for less. But it doesn't change the set of steps that we do. First thing we have to do is find the change in price, which in this case is going to be 350 take away 320, so that's going to be $30. The original, so it's what I started with, it's 350 bucks. So then I look to get my percentage change by doing 30 divided by 350 and multiply it by 100. What that gives me is 8.571 continuous percentage. So that is going to be 8.6%, and in this case it's gone down, so contextualize it with a loss. If we then look at number 3, the computer desk is bought for $520 and resold on for £680. For this one, we want the change to start, so it's going to be 680, take away the $520, so in this case it's going to be $160. We want the original, which in this case is going to equal the $520. It's the amount that we started with. So I can then say, just to get my percentage change, I'm going to do 160 divided by 520 and then multiply my answer for that by 100. When I do that, I get 30.769 and a whole spiel of stuff percent. And I'm then going to take that and I'm going to round it and I'm going to make it 30.8%. And I know in this case I've made a profit. So it's a 30.8% profit. The last question is then a tripod which we buy for $80 and we sell it for $68. So again, what I start by doing is I get the change. So in this case, my change is going to be the $80, take away the 68. So it's going to be a $12 change. I look at the original amount I started with, which in this case is going to be the $80. And what I then do is get my percentage change. So I do 12 divided by 80, and I times it by 100. And when I do that, I get 15%. I get quite a nice round number for that one. So in this case, I've got 15%, but I need to discover what it is, a profit or a loss. It's gone down in price, so it's a 15% loss in this scenario. So for each of these, I've done the same steps. I'm looking at change, original, make them into a fraction and multiply it by 100. And if I do that, I can calculate percentage profit or loss. Or as an earlier example showed, one thing is the percentage of another. So the sweeties and the percentage of them that were orange sweets. So with this topic, what are the rules? Well, firstly, we have to make sure we calculate the amount of gain or loss, or profit or loss, as we called them. We did have the example where we had the portion of it. Again, if we have that amount, we take that as well, but it all falls into that one category. We then use the same formula to calculate percentage change. So we do the difference divided by the original times it by 100. If it was one where it's something as a percentage of the whole amount, the sweetie one for example, it's what we have divided by the original times it by hundreds. And then as we've done as well with profits and losses, number of orange sweeties, etc., we contextualize as needed. Put it back in the context of what it wants and give us this scenario based on that. It's a fairly straightforward set of steps. The big thing is the formula and what information you're looking at to get the formula to work. Just remember, think smart, solve fast.